The Quizmaster. When this is all over, I'm not answering any more questions. I'm not going to choose between the 6 wives of Henry VIII or explain the meaning of onomatopoeia. I won't care which is the longest river or the highest mountain. Famous footballers can dribble through my fingers, and celebrities and pop stars can fade away. I won't recall who signed the Magna Carta, or who discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun. As for Agincourt, Trafalgar and Waterloo, there'll be dates for others to fight over. Wembley finals, Wimbledon finals, Olympic finals will finally have no hold on me. Mozart and Da Vinci needn't darken my door again, and there'll be no capital in knowing how to spell Reykjavik. I no longer want to be the one people turn to for all the answers. But grant me instead the bliss of ignorance. I will fill it with thoughts and meanings of my own. Who was it said the pen is mightier than the sword? I will not know, and would not tell you if I did.
At this time when we're all being forced to live our lives slightly differently, we're probably reappraising the things that we do value in life, and realising that perhaps we don't want to return to the world that we've all been forced to escape from completely. And this is about such a moment, realising that there can be a different way. So this story is called A Different Way. The way there was different from what they had expected. Once they turned off the road, they were on an unmade track which perched precariously on the cliffside. Zigzag bends hid the way ahead, so that all they could see was sheer barren rock above and impossibly azure sea below, waiting for them. They were heading for a taverna said to be nestling in the tiny bay beneath the mountains, but the perilous journey was a surprise. The woman, driving, focused on the moment as she edged them forwards, while Chris found himself, not for the first time, calmly entrusting his life to this woman and allowing himself to be dazzled by the sun. He did not drive now since the stroke. And more, he'd lost the driving motivation of his adult life, the business which had contributed to his ill health. It was a surprise to him to find that life went on without needing him to be in complete control. And a surprise to find himself on a holiday with no responsibilities. The taverna was a wooden shack balancing on an outcrop of rock. A well-tended shrine had been carved into the indent in the cliff, and around it chickens pecked desperately among the stones. There were no other vehicles and few other signs of life, yet it was much too soon to contemplate the return journey, and with a smile and a shrug, they left the car. Inside, they were welcomed by a young woman reading at the bar, who slid from her stool to guide them to a table on a balcony reaching over glittering sea. Her partner appeared, bringing retsina and languidly cooked swordfish doused in oil and lemon for them. Then they were left alone. The afternoon drifted by to the rhythm of the waves lapping the rocks below. In the shimmering sunshine, she saw Chris watching her through half-closed eyes. This man who'd come so late and lately into her life, about whom she knew so little and everything. As their gaze shifted to the blue, blue sea, a small boat became visible out in the bay. As it neared, they saw that it was being rowed by a white-haired old man, and 2 children were with him, trailing their hands in the warm water. For the first time then, they realised that a man and a woman were swimming just below their balcony, and now the pair turned to paddle gently towards the approaching boat. Chris smiled at the realisation that this was the couple who'd so recently prepared their lunch, and that in the boat were their children, being brought from school by their grandfather. Soon, all were playing together in the water. "I've just realised," he said a little sadly, "that there's more than one way to live your life."
Some of them were involved in peace negotiations for a Balkan civil war, and the leader of those discussions was a British politician called Sir Hector Clapham, who'd been brought low by a sex scandal involving spanking. The poem is a rap delivered by one of the talent night contestants. He was a performance poet called Colin. He wasn't a marvellous poet, but this is his rap, and it's a kind of time capsule of American foreign policy attitudes of perhaps 20 years ago, the era of first Clinton and then George W. Bush. Forget your destiny, forget your history. To us your culture's just a medieval mystery. If you want our money, you'll accept our terms. If you don't, we'll starve you till you have to eat worms. If that don't work, we'll send high-level bombers, so don't start quibbling over full stops and commas. Peace talks, photo opportunities, speeches on the White House lawn about mending your communities. But here's the nitty-gritty, away from the media. Don't mess with our oil supply if you want us to feed you. You'll buy our McDonald's, our Kentucky Fried Chicken, but your natural resources are there for our picking. You'll open your markets for us to exploit, 'cause we care less about peace than jobs in Detroit. We'll sell you weapons, but don't you break our truce, so we'll send a UN task force like a bolt from Zeus. We're the global masters, so just you toe the line. Toast the treaty for the cameras in cheap white wine. You're gonna have elections that are free and fair. If you're blessed, you'll get a visit from Tony Blair. But one thing we're not offering is self-determination. To us, you're just a chess piece in our global domination. Peace talks, hollow promises and lies. But maybe Whackham Clapham gonna win the Nobel Prize.
This poem was inspired by Robert Macfarlane's beautiful and poignant book, The Lost Words. Every day now I walk along a disused railway track at the back of my house, and a few weeks ago I set myself the task to try and remember all the names of the wildflowers that were coming up this spring, in the hope that if we learn to name them again, we can learn to value them more. So this poem is called Baptism. At some point, the names began to slip away. For a short while they remained within reach and might be found quite easily when they were needed. But too soon, sooner than anyone had thought, they started to disappear, until all attempts to recollect them were futile. The names were lost, no longer shaped by mouths, existing only in forgotten books, banished to high shelves in spare bedrooms. Our grandparents still bound by the sound of words, would have tramped the old paths in country or in town, ways that were worn from daily walking, reminding themselves as they passed of the names of things, beloved and familiar, an incantation, a welcome. The bank of primrose by the railway line, the waymark hawthorn where you turned to take a short cut through the fields to the church, the glade where bluebells flowed in a wide river under translucent green beech leaves. The names were repeated every year in the same order, give or take a few days. Celandine, violet, primrose, cowslip, bluebell, and onward through the spring and summer haze until blossom became berries, catkins turned to cobnuts, and the bright red candles of horse chestnut brought the joy of conkers. There were many firsts: snowdrop, swallow, skylark, cuckoo, tadpole, brimstone butterfly, marking the perfect progress of the year better than any written calendar. The fields had their own names too, given for their usage, or their tenant, or some secret story of their own. The brickfields, Old Tom's Meadow, Lover's Peace. Directions were passed on in visual clues, a map of hedges held in the head. We cannot know that which we have not named. We cannot love that which we do not know. In this contained and cautious spring of walking close to home, the same path each and every day, savouring its newness like the child I was, I hear the names returning from the edge of memory: chickweed, bugle, blue alkanet, stitchwort, white dead nettle, jack by the hedge, sweet woodruff with its scent of new-mown hay. Bees bear witness as I baptize each one, calling them into being, watching them. In their allotted order, they find space and nestle down below the greening hedge in places they had never really left.